Look at you on time.
Yeah. Having all kinds of fun technical things trying to juggle 3 Microsoft accounts with one system.
Well, apparently you've done it because you're here.
I was a little nervous there. Took me a few minutes. So I have my personal outlook.com. I have my company uh, Outlook from Salem that I hardly ever log into, and then I have the town hall one. I was even trying to get different browsers to log into different systems. So have my town hall be my Chrome, have my work one be Safari as the browser. I'm using the app, so now it's kind of working. How's your day been?
My day has been really crappy.
Sorry.
Thanks. Mostly on the management side of the properties up in Illinois, tenant
Oh, yeah.
problems.
Mm,
It's been bad. So, but we'll get through it.
that's the key, getting through it.
Yeah.
Let's see, copy.
Can we try to bring this meeting to a conclusion in 1 hour?
I would prefer it's even faster.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm I got to drive to Tampa tonight to take Olivia to a concert. So yeah,
Oh,
I'd
get
prefer,
out of here.
yeah.
And
I,
and back, right? Or
no, Liv and a friend are going to a concert, and I got to hang around in Tampa and then drive back. Dad duty, you know.
Oh, great. What a dad.
We dropped off our old Tesla at the electrified garage up in Ocala.
Oh yeah, you told
Uh,
me that.
they they came back with a laundry list, including that there is a separation in the balancing level of some of the packs in the battery pack,
Uh,
and now it won't charge to more than 49 miles.
great.
We
Now
just
what?
drove it up there. It was fine.
Oh,
All the
great.
other stuff they listed, I figured, bushings and things like control arms, have some ripped bushings. Front sway bars have bushing issues. Uh, but probably besides the battery, the next biggest thing is the rear drive unit has coolant ingress on the rotor side. Possible rebuild, but further investigation needed prior to moving forward. So basically, what they're telling me in this message, I haven't talked to the person yet, but they're basically telling me the thing's mechanically totaled because it's not worth putting all that energy into. Now, if I was the first owner of this car and I knew its history and everything, I would do something different. But we're the fourth owner of this car.
What's the mileage on the car?
113,000 miles.
Okay, all right, all
But
right. And what year is it?
it's a 2015.
15, okay.
But it's been in accidents. That's the other part. It's been in like when I pulled the Carfax on it, it had been in 3 accidents.
So the bushings are 9 years old, there's
Yeah.
rubber in there.
Yeah. That made sense to me.
Yeah,
So with the coolant ingress, Tesla cools the stator and they cool the inverter in the rear drive unit. And this leak is a known problem. And so they've made aftermarket kits that actually do a coolant bypass of part of the unit without any issues to the rest of the unit. And I had inquired about that when I dropped it off, and they're like, "Well, yeah, that would require a $4,500 motor rebuild to even get started before we can assess." And I'm like, "Man, if I lived back in Virginia, I would take this thing over to my buddy Shemaine's garage, and I'd be tearing it apart myself and having the fun." I would drop the battery pack and balance the cells, and I do a lot of this stuff
who's
myself.
this, who's that guy?
Steven, good to see you. He's
Hello.
Nathaniel.
Hello, good afternoon and evening.
Good afternoon and evening. So yeah, a few things to figure out on what we're going to do. We just might lease a Model 3 for 3 years.
Yeah, my son has one. He likes it.
I love my Model Y. It does. I kind of call it like the best all-around vehicle. It's got plenty of storage. It's fun. It's fast. But Becky's only complaint about a Model 3 is it has a trunk, not a hatchback. That Model S has a hatchback, so you can we got a full-size door and jam in the back of her car from Lowe's one time. That's how much room is in the back of that thing.
Yeah, actually, I stand corrected. It's not a 3 he's got a Y. The Y is the one
Yeah.
that looks like a little SUV, right?
That's the one I've got. Yeah. Well, we fit that sub cabinet in it. I mean, it's
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
do, 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 do. Hey, Lauren.
Hello.
Okay, the time is 5:30. Do we have a quorum? I believe. One,
Yes, you do.
two. Okay. I guess we would begin with any owner comments. Do we have any?
I don't see any non-committee members on.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Anybody want to second it first?
Yeah,
Yes.
second.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, let's begin. MyCelebration.fl report updates. Andrew, probably you're the person most informed at this point on how that's going.
Yeah, I know, last meeting we spoke with them, they were looking at how they could adjust the survey piece, because currently it's showing up as just CDD and not a break between Crow and CDD. So I know that was their focus in trying to adjust it, but as far as everything else, I think we have what we're going to be working with, and it has been doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I don't have any new updates or bugs. I don't know, Tom, if there's anything else you want to add, but I think we have the application as it is and use it accordingly.
They seem to have corrected the email response to it. Now it just says celebration. It doesn't say celebration CDDD or CCDD. In the responses, the automatic responses.
Okay. Is there any additional items we need to address with them about functionality or any improvements, or is it kind of going to be static where it is?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be static for the most part. I mean, there's a couple things that are still on, I think, the wish list that we're waiting to hear back from them on, but we have that meeting next Tuesday. So after that, I'll have more of an update for the committee.
Okay. Would I be
Andrew,
able to
is,
join you at that meeting? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just
John?
gonna ask, are we keeping these notes somewhere in Teams that we can read the updates instead of waiting for 30 days to have our meetings to find out what's going on?
Yeah, I
Any
can get updates for you and put that in Teams for everyone. That's not a problem.
Any meetings that I've attended to, I took the meeting notes and put them in Teams. There's a folder on there just for this.
Thanks, Tom. Is there any like notifications that get sent to us that a document was added or updated?
I don't think so, but we can just shoot an email out to the committee
Yeah.
so everyone has it.
I think you can set up for each folder if you want. You can set up your own alerts.
All right, thanks.
Okay, any other discussion about discussion point A?
Has there been any negative feedback? I haven't heard anything recently. Like 3 months ago, it seemed like a big hot topic, and it seems like it's died down a little bit. Is that still the case, or are we working through some bugs?
I don't think there's bugs. I think now it's more on who is getting assigned it and whether they're completing it or not. So I think, requests are going in, but some homeowners are seeing things that are closed and then they go back out and they see that it hasn't been done. So on the back end, I think there was a conversation in adopting a process of making sure that a picture as well as the work that was completed is a part of that closing comment. So there's better communication to the homeowner, but at the same time, there's documentation to support that the thing was resolved. So that's I think more on the maintenance management side, which I know Grand Manners has Exquisite do things and their maintenance team and things of that nature. So I think that's a discussion for them to have to ensure whenever requests are being closed, the work is being completed at that time. But as far as bugs, no, I haven't seen any new bugs
All right.
within the application.
And Lauren, are you getting everything that you need from them?
Yeah, I mean, I have access to all the CROA related tickets and then the tickets that are unassigned to CDD or CROA. So we can look at those. So
All right,
I
good.
guess
So
that brings up a thing. So they were working on, if it's not assigned to CROA or CDD, it's going into what's called I think a general maintenance department. And
Yes.
for some reason, the application doesn't allow you to change it from general maintenance department to either CROA or CCDD. So that's something that is actively being discussed and try to have some type of workaround that regardless of what it comes in, we should have that functionality to change it to the appropriate entity that should be handling it. So that I'll definitely be bringing up next Tuesday on the call with Angel and those guys over there. But something that I think that would assist Lauren and team as well, because if they're not able to pull up the general department ones, then we really can't see what's out there.
Is that a
All right, yeah.
logic flow issue where it's just falling into this bucket unintentionally, or how does that occur?
Because I would say it's a question for GoGov as far as why that's happening.
From
Okay.
what I see, it's sometimes the way it's submitted by the resident. They don't know what category to select. And other times they're not using the geotag function. So it's just showing from their address, which doesn't do anything. But then there are others that I can't explain why they're in that general department.
Okay, sounds like a good question for the call on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, last year when I was in deep discussions with them about this, right, I told them, listen, you guys are going to be really accountable for this. We want to make sure we work through all the issues, all the bugs, all the requests that we have, and do extensive testing on it, because we've been accused by some residents that we're not testing, and we did. So I just think it's good that we just keep on top of this, get to specifics, because they were always open to listen to us on those Friday calls when I was attending those calls. And it's just a matter of getting the details and the information specifics, right, to keep making the app better. And that's with any app that you have, right?
Right. Absolutely. Any other discussion on this point? Okay, let's move on to key card systems. Tom, would you have an update on where we are with Artisan Park? I think that was the last major project being worked on.
Yeah, it's just about complete. All of the doors are back to where they were before we started the transition. So all the readers are there, and we had requested a couple of additional doors, and there was a couple of additional push to exit buttons that were required for code compliance. That has not been done, and they're scheduled to return sometime next week to finish that. I would estimate that they probably have maybe 2 days of work to complete, but the rest of the upgrade is done and works pretty well.
Are there any other major deployments left in the schedule, or was Artisan Park at the end?
Yeah, my belief is that we were the Artisan Park was last.
There's 2 doors that need some wiring at Lakeside, the Jones room and the stick room, but Artisan was the last big push to get done. And I did email Scott Hunt today to try to get an update and status. So when I get that from him, I'll send that out to the committee.
Yeah, and so I was, and again, I'm really upset that Jose left Lauren. Even just talking about him upsets me, but I was working with him on the digital piece of it, and I have it on my phone, and I've been testing out for him in some of the facilities, and it works beautifully. I've actually showed some residents it, and they were so excited about using the technology. So hopefully, we have a plan when that's going to come to the residents, because it's working super good, at least with my testing.
Well, so
And
on
John,
that,
your testing is only through the Gallagher app, not
Correct.
ONR.
Correct.
Okay. And then quick question, if anyone knows, but you need to be within like 3 or 5 feet of the door to open it? You cannot do any type of remote access into it?
Yeah, I had to go up and actually put it next to the reader, and it opened the gates and the doors for me.
But it has to be truly right next to the
Yes,
reader.
it won't recognize that there's a door close by. Unless you're close to it.
Okay.
That's too bad at the clubhouse.
so on this topic, anybody who has seen us open the door using our phone gets excited and say, how do I get that? And of course, the plan has always been that this is going to be a part of ONR. I would like this committee to entertain the idea of allowing any resident that wants to load the app voluntarily from Gallagher to be allowed to do that. It would be optional. We wouldn't require it. I don't see any particular downside as to why we wouldn't allow that. We have no plan that I know of to incorporate this in ONR. Jose was supposed to meet with ONR and see exactly what the status of the API was. Obviously, that didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. Somebody else would have to do that. My guess is that this would not be available to the general residents until after at the end of the year. So I would ask the committee to consider just allowing any resident who wants to load the Gallagher app on their phone to permit them to do it.
Do we know if there's a cost? Oh, sorry, Krista, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my biggest concern is that it just adds like when we launch, if and when we launch ONR, like that'd be the main question for me, is if we're still proceeding with ONR and the plan is to integrate that, then I'd want to go down that route, because we already have the GoGov app, then we've got the ONR app, and then we've got the Gallagher app. And so now residents have 3 apps, which is, I mean, that was the whole purpose that we went with GoGov anyway. So it was a single app. So that'd be my main concern. We've got a breadth of technological skill sets in this community, and supporting a 3rd app, I wouldn't want to put that on town hall and the staff there, or yeah, that'd be my main concern.
So the
So I
Gallagher
just,
app is an off-the-shelf app. I'm sorry, I interrupted some. I'm just looking at my own phone. I probably have 150 apps on my phone. And maybe that's not normal.
I would argue, Tom, you're very tech savvy compared to a lot of
Yeah,
residents.
okay. Okay, appreciate that, but I'm just saying that we're not gonna tell a resident they have to load the app. We would offer them, hey, if you want to put an additional app, create additional confusion on your phone, here it is. It doesn't in any way eliminate the potential to put the ONR app on. They could still put the ONR app. There could be multiple ways they could open the door. They can use ONR, they could use Gallagher. I just hate to see that we've got this capability sitting there, and I see no path to getting this incorporated in ONR. I don't even see a path to ONR yet. So why would we make them wait? If they want to be confused, it's a voluntary decision. They can go ahead and be confused and load the app.
so I just got a voicemail while I was driving today from ONR, to set up a meeting because they were working with Jose and they know that Jose is no longer here. So I would say maybe before you make this decision, maybe one of you wants to get on that call with me with O&R and see what the status is and what progress Jose's made. That way you have all the information available to you in front of you, and then you can make the decision.
Is
That'll
that
delay us
something?
that'll
is that
delay us a
something-
month.
Bill and myself, do we want to take that on with Lauren as far as understanding where that is and then coming back to the group as far as if it's plausible or not?
Yeah, I would like to be on that call. Tom, I hear you. I do. I like the app. I'm using the app every time I go. I've used it at the gate to get into the pool. I've used it to get into the clubhouse, and it is very efficient. And I would love that technology rolled out as quickly as possible to the community. I do share Krista's concern about multiple apps and multiple touch points for town hall. I think my recommendation would be is if we don't see a path to ONR being integrated and rolled out before the end of the year, then it's something we should seriously consider as a recommendation to the board to go ahead and deploy Gallagher in the meantime.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I mean, I've used it, my North Village pool across the street, and people are just like, how'd you get that? Where'd you get it? I want to use it. Yeah, they get very excited about it. You know, I think we owe our residents something to be excited about lately. All the negativity that's going around, I think it's a good thing. But I agree with Krista too, though. I mean, I disagree with what she says either.
So if we're okay, why don't we go ahead and have that call, Lauren, with Andrew and myself and you and whoever else you think would be beneficial to have that call with. Would love to be a part of it, and we can bring it up next month and see what our early findings are. Tom, is that a call you'd like to be a part of?
No, I don't need to be a part of it. I
Okay.
just want ONR to get done.
Yep.
This has been, this project's been going on forever. I mean, how long, I could look at my phone to see when I put this on first, but it's definitely been a year.
Yeah, we predicted June, Tom, we said it'd be done by June. We were telling people that by this past June, everybody would have it on their phones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just tired of waiting, and now that we've got this technology, I don't see a downside. Us confusing.
Lauren, do you have
access?
Lauren, do you or Andy have access to the Gallagher interface to add people?
I do not. I'm gonna have to get, that's one of the reasons why I reached out to Scott Hunt, so I can figure out who has that access, and how we transfer that over to somebody at town hall.
Yeah, because Tom, I mean, we might, until that, I know, I agree with you, it could be a month, but maybe we do like a phase test where we grab 50, 100 residents that want to put Gallagher on in kind of a controlled environment. Because I got 20 people right now that would die for it, right? I'm sure each of us have a few, just for a controlled with the Gallagher and see how it goes before advertising it to everybody.
Given that we're down a director of IT right now, I mean, is there a need that it needs to be immediate? Because I don't want to put that on Lauren's plate, to also have to manage a pilot for that.
No, I agree. That's fair, Kristen.
And I'll just add a comment regarding, I know Tom wants to get it out, but anyone who would participate in any type of Gallagher application is one less person that's motivated to sign up for ONR. So you're cannibalizing a little bit of that drive to the new application that we're hopefully using for a number of different things. So I think there's a benefit in waiting, and ONR seemed from what Jose said that they're willing to jump through hoops to get us up and running and kind of throw their weight behind it to get our thing going. So let's have that call and see where it goes. If they're pushing on, 3 to 6 months versus, 3 to 6 weeks, we'll find out what the timeline is, and then we can pivot accordingly.
So I do have a little bit of potentially silly question, but what is the major holdup with ONR right now?
For the access, my understanding is they don't have an API built yet for integrating with Gallagher.
Okay, I'm sorry. Lauren, it seems like it was Lauren and Chris were both hot micing at the same time, so I didn't hear whoever answered that. I apologize.
My understanding is the Gallagher app does it, or the ONR app does not have the API built to interface with Gallagher yet.
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, like that shouldn't take more than a couple weeks at most for someone to develop like some type of API hook into another system to pull it to start populating their system, unless they're having ONRs having to make drastic changes based off of data that we require them to have in order to use the app.
Yeah, this is part of the reason I was going to ride down to Miami with Jose and sit down with ONR, because I wanted to dig in a little deeper on some of these things. It does seem like it's taking quite a while with ONR, so that was
and
one of
Bill,
the things I was looking forward to.
to be honest, a year and a half ago when we were in discussions in board meetings talking about ONR, and listen, I was excited about it too when Jose was talking about it, but at that time we were saying it's a Swiss Army knife. It can do everything. It can do what GoGov does. It can do this. It can do that. RecPro, all that stuff is thrown in there, right? And we just didn't really have the details to test it and know about it. And you know, with software, these things happen.
And you bring up a good point with RecPro, because that is the major deadline that we need to keep our eye on, because a replacement for RecPro, I wasn't here when all that was originally discussed, so I don't know if it went to RFP and this is where it went to. But the replacement of RecPro is really that deadline for us that we're working with.
Right. That's what
Yeah,
is that March? So Lauren's nodding her head yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a March deadline on that functionality. Okay.
Right. And you know, we talked about this too at length last year and a half ago. You know, I apologize for repeating myself, but like when I go consult with my customers about building apps for their businesses, we encourage them to use different apps. We say, do not create one app that does everything. We literally encourage our customers to build apps separately. You get more function out of them as far as usage and stuff. But again, you know, I understand easier to have one app that does everything as well. And we discussed that, you know, Tom and I discussed that at length about having one app, and it is 100% simpler for a user to download an app. I agree, but when you start talking about APIs and built-in features and stuff, and when you have multiple apps with different developers, you will also get better quality because they're all working on one piece instead of trying to make one thing do everything.
Yeah, I mean, ONR is going to have to be able to recognize a NFC chip request to a card reader, pass that API call back to a system, either hosted at Gallagher or hosted at Town Hall, get an authentication, and then give a response back to the lock. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of work. It's not going to be simple.
So who is publishing the minutes of this meeting? Who's writing this down as to keeping the records? Lauren? Okay, so
Yeah, I'll be taking meeting minutes.
I'm specifically asking you to highlight this discussion at this point in time so that if this doesn't happen by the time a couple of months goes by, then as a resident, I'm going to show up at a board meeting and say, well, this is what we talked about 2 months ago, and we still don't have this. I appreciate Lauren, Andrew's a board member, but I think if the rest of the board heard that we have this capability, it's just sitting there and that we're not using it, I would like to hear their opinion as to whether or not we should go this way, whether we should just roll it out. So I want to have a marker in time that this is what we decided at this point in time. We're going to delay this, and we're going to see what ONR has. I think that's a prudent thing to do. I'm on board with that, but I just don't want it to become a tool to use to then push this thing out into next year.
Yeah, Tom, I mean, I'll commit now that if ONR is not out this year, then the Gallagher app is going to be out this year.
Okay.
So that's like my far timeline
Okay.
at the moment today. And
I
then
can live with
depending on
that.
how
That's-
ONR goes, I mean, again, I wanted ONR with RecPro and keycard access out by now. So yeah, we're behind, and you guys said it was supposed to be done middle of this year. So we're already 3 months behind. So yeah, the time is short on we need to get this thing up and running. And if it's not there, then we move forward without it.
Okay. So finally, on this topic, Lauren, I want to ask you, as of early last week, Bill was supposed to have his new computer so that he would have access to the database. About 25% of the residents who attempt to access the door say their card doesn't work at Artisan Park. And every one of those, we have to send an email to Town Hall because they're the only people that have access to the database to fix whatever's wrong with it to allow these people. That computer was supposed to be in place last week at the beginning, and I would go back to say that we made space on the door back in April to put these readers in. So we should have known back in April that Bill is going to need a computer and it should be ordered. When is that computer going to be on Bill's desk and running the software?
So that's something that I have to wait for Scott Hunt to inform me. I reached out to him today. I didn't hear back, so I'm sure I get in touch with him tomorrow and get an answer on that and my other questions about status.
So that's tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll get you a status tomorrow.
Okay.
I do know that there's already an admin license for Bill because I've seen that in an email, but I did not see anything about a computer.
So Jose, the technical explanation is that whatever software that needs to run to allow access to the database would not run on on Bill's computer because it was too old. This is what Jose had told him, and that he needed a new computer, and that Jose was ordering that new computer. And now we're going back a month. Computer was due, as I said, to be installed at the beginning of last week. Not this week, but last week. I went over there today. I didn't see anything on his desk. Bill's still emailing you guys. So that's the background for this, is to, exactly what the holdup is and why is there a problem. I'd be interested in knowing why he even needs a new computer. What software is this that can't run on a standard Windows platform? But, what do we know?
I'll talk to Scott tomorrow and I'll talk to Jose tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Lauren, has that computer already been ordered?
I honestly don't have that answer because I didn't know any of this computer discussion.
All right, yeah, find out, because this seems like a huge waste of an expense for something that should be able to be resolved accordingly. So we shouldn't be buying Artisan Park a computer to use because they don't have adequate computers in place.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we done with topic point D? Does anybody else have any comments about the key card system we haven't covered? Okay,
Again,
moving.
I'm sorry, Bill. I would just ask Lauren, listen, I really appreciate you. You know that. Just any information that gets gathered, if it's put in Teams or somewhere, just so we can be up to date with that and not have to wait a month, to find out what the status is.
As soon as I talk to Scott and Jose tomorrow, I will send a status email to the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to point C, security, wireless camera setup and deployment date. I believe that is probably on hold now.
So Michael's Lighting and Electrical was out at Longmeadow this week trying to figure out how to do the electrical run for that. They have 2 suggestions and they're putting together a quote for both suggestions for me. So as soon as I get those, I'll share those with the committee.
Okay. Anybody have any comment on that? And then once that camera's deployed, Tom, the SIM card's already in it. It's going to be operational at that point.
Yep,
okay.
It's going to, when it has power, it's going to work. Jose already tested it at his house. I tested it here. It's going to work.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on that topic? All right, let's move on to item number 5, discussion item O&R. I think we've touched on it a few different times tonight. Is there anything else we need to to cover on that tonight?
I
Okay,
think we need, I
Have
think we need
we-
to talk about what is actually going in ONR and what that timeline is going to start looking like.
And have we done a demo or talked with the rec committee yet on the replacement stuff?
The rec committee was given ONR logins to test it.
okay. So no feedback yet from the rec committee.
Not that I've seen.
Who owns that from our side?
I have admin access and Jose has admin access.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just asking Lauren because I'm extremely close. One of my best friends is the chairperson of the rec committee. And
Mhm.
one of the other people that sit on that committee is also a very close friend of mine. So I've not talked to them about that. But from our team to them, I mean, I can get feedback from them if that can speed it along.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I'll reach out to them tomorrow
Okay.
to see where they're at with it. And I'll
Okay, so
add
you
it
go-
to my update.
Okay, so you communicate with Victoria or is it through Nikki?
No, I communicate directly to Victoria.
Okay, awesome.
And Lindsay Taylor was given access to it last year as well.
Okay.
Andrew?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as far as timeline, I mean, for the Rec Pro, that should probably be in alignment with whatever the API is for Gallagher. That if that's going to take 3 to 6 weeks, then that's the expectation that Parks and Rec is good to go on this Rec Pro replacement within ONR.
Okay.
And then I guess the next question would be, if those are the two modules within it, the card reader and Rec Pro's replacement, what, if anything else, should be included in that?
Well, the other big discussion, Andrew, that I was having with Jose last year was through the dog park as well for immunization and shots and stuff also through that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how quickly that's going to be able to be built, but
Yeah.
that seems like a nice to have, not a must have.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was just discussions we had last year. I mean, I agree with Tom. We talked about all this beautiful cake and the icing and the cherry on top last year. And it's just very slow.
Who brought ONR to the table?
Jose.
Yeah, Jose was doing some research on a bunch of different apps for Rec Pro replacement. And there was originally conversation between ONR and Real Manage about connecting their backends so that then Cyranet would talk to ONR and we wouldn't have to do this resident data transfer. So it would be a more user-friendly face to Cyranet.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I'm
I guess
curious
Before it
how
comes
big.
out,
further
but,
looking, another nice to have would be that there's an API to GoGov that you could submit a request through ONR that would backfeed into that system.
What could go wrong with that?
Yeah, before
Oh.
it comes up in like a CROA meeting too, because it always ends up being the question from a few key people is just making, were there other vendors that we looked at from an RFP perspective?
I'll have to go back and look at Jose's files. It's been a while.
We started testing ONR 392 days ago. So actually longer than that. My first message on ONR was 403 days. So it's been hanging out there for 403 days. No project should take 403 days.
Well, yeah, we're pretty much through the 3-year contract and we have nothing to show for.
But just because we have a contract, if it didn't meet the needs or doesn't meet the needs, it's a sunk cost at this point. So like I wouldn't go forward with a bad solution. I'm not saying that this is a bad solution, but saying that we're this far behind, like this far into it, that's not a reason for me to say, hey, let's just launch this when we're not ready. Because a lot of the attributes we were talking about was the communication part, which after talking with the communications team is not something we wanted to go forward with. So I don't take that as a bad thing as much as it is also doing due diligence to understand that it is going to fulfill the needs that we need it to fulfill. Now there have been delays as well, so I don't want to make light of those, but just calling out the days to me isn't enough to make me say, oh, let's just do it then.
Yeah, and that initial testing, to Tom's point, I mean, I'm looking at my email, May 3rd, 2023, I was sent an email to log into it and test it. But again, I think all the APIs to all these other apps, Krista, to your point, takes time, right? And that needs to be taken into account when you can get it ready to deploy.
I understand when we brought it in, it was a proof of concept to see if it could. I mean, things
Right.
take time for a proof of concept.
Yep.
I guess I look at it as we are 6 months away from needing something for Rec Pro, and pivoting now probably isn't going to be plausible. So we pretty much have to lay in the bed that lies right now.
Yeah, I don't think, no one should assume that what I was saying is that we should tube it. I'm just saying that it's 400 days, despite, you know, I'm sure you guys all have esteemed backgrounds, but we develop and ship products in 400 days that are way more complicated than an app. So 400 days or more, I understand it takes time and all, and I'm not suggesting that we abandon ship by any means. I think we need it and we should roll it out. But we have to come up with a way to do things quicker. Things just take too long. And, you know, the whole thing, as we just talked about with the access control and the cameras and everything just takes way too long. And maybe this is the speed of government. Maybe this is the speed that government operates at, but I'm having a hard time adjusting to it.
Yeah, and
So
I mean,
to be fair, Tom, the O&R rollout got kicked to the side when we started doing the GoGov rollout. There's only so many projects that the town hall team can support at any given time. So
Okay,
yes, it's
okay.
taking a long time for this, but you have to think of, we not only have day-to-day operations, but then every other additional project that you have on top of that, things take longer than they would if you just had a project team working on that.
Okay.
Lauren, I agree with you 100%. You know, working closely with Jose and you, I know how much stuff is put on your guys' plate. And I think just by this call alone, you can see how many hats that Lauren wears. And a lot of the big, you know, turnover from Lauren's team and people coming in and out in the projects. Again, not to make excuses for anybody, but working day to day with you guys for a while, you can just, I understand how much stuff you guys have on your plate and how much this community asks of us. And Grand Manners, and it is a lot, right? And I think people want to pay limited resources to have a lot done. I think that's always a challenge with limited resources.
Okay, any more discussion on point number 5, O&R? All right, let's move to committee comments.
So apologize for keep talking here, but you know, I read, Lauren, the 2 announcements about the data leak. Thank you for that. I know Andrew also got us some stuff. Is that what we should know? What was sent out publicly? Is there anything else? I mean, I'm hoping that Jose didn't resign because of that. I don't know if it's something that could be told publicly about that, but
So Jose had no involvement in the information that was loaded to the website. That was our communications manager and our our service area manager. There have been HR related conversations at multiple levels within town hall and above my pay grade. The information that was put on there was the deed holder name, the property address, both of which are available on the Osceola County's website, the Syrinet account number, which is what you use to log into Syrinet and how we track whose money goes where internally. So that's no use to anybody outside of Syrinet. And then what, if anything, the resident may owe to the association. There were the last 4 digits of a couple of bank accounts. But yeah, that was what Stacy put out there is the gist of it.
all right. I appreciate that. You know, and again, I think you guys know me that I don't read the back porch, but my wife reads to me some of the stuff and it makes my head blow up. Some of the comments lately about this so-called data leak, and I think some of you know, I support the carriers from the Apple side, T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. And they've had huge leaks the last couple of years. So this is not unprecedented. And some of the stuff that people are talking about, right? So it's just, it cracks me up. Some of these people in our community make these outrageous comments about stuff, blaming Grand Manners for stuff when this happens by the biggest, largest companies in the world. So I just wanted to say that. Hopefully, we know this is recorded, and I hope people watch it.
Yeah, I guess
So
John.
since,
I was
sorry,
just gonna
I
add
just
one
wanted to
that,
say, since then, all the documents have been deleted from the website. We're just waiting for all the web browsers to re-index everything. So then they shouldn't be accessible anymore.
And John, to your question there is, I can't find any fault in Grand Manners when it's tied to a 2017 statement. So there was a CCMC and board determination that financial statements, full financial statements should be uploaded to the website for over 5 years and beyond. So yeah, it happened most recently, but it was a practice that was put in place within Celebration that is extremely poor, in my view, and never should have happened. With Grand Manners, I think their process is that everything is in CereNet for financials, and if any homeowner wants to locate it, they sign into their account and they can get it there, which that's what it should have been the entire time. So now that we're in this place today, it's getting corrected, and I think there'll be a board discussion regarding whether the CereNet solution is appropriate, which I am in favor of, and we go from there.
And Andrew, I think that's really important. I'm glad you're stepping up on this because I know what you do for a living and I know the financial information that you deal with. And for you to say that, I think that's really important. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's no data leak. It was a terrible policy that was followed. Well, the policy needs to be fixed and then cleanup needs to be done.
Any more comments? I'll put a motion forward to adjourn.
Oh, wait, hold on. One more, Bill. Just a quick question. It came up recently, but for all the committee members, do you have access to any specific Grand Manners applications or programs within Celebration beyond just your normal Teams access?
I have access to the website, the WordPress website on Freshie Sites.
SUI, and that's it.
Okay, thank
And
you.
Chris, we talked about this a lot too ad nauseum about if Jose ever went away about all the passwords and accounts. You have all those?
I can give an update on kind of where we're at with all that passwords. We had a corporate IT person on site today. He was given all the administrative passwords. He was given Jose's laptop. He toured all of the facilities to see what we were running, how we were running it. So he's going back to the senior vice president of infrastructure, and I can't remember the last word in his title. And they are going to be working to assist us in providing support in the interim until we find somebody to replace Jose. Because we also don't have Andy now either.
Has that job been posted yet?
They were up. We asked those two to update the job description because it doesn't do justice to the role.
Okay.
Now, Lauren, I know in the past, and I understand why you've been adverse to volunteers for stuff, but at this point, if you need support, I think any of us that have the time, and I've been traveling the last 2 months, but I'll be around, we are more than happy to help anything you need, at least for me. And I think Tom and Bill, I know they would as well. So please lean on us if you need us right now.
We appreciate that.
Okay. Any other
Just
comments?
I'm sorry, just on that last topic, about if you want to call it the virtual ownership of virtual properties, like the URL for the website and all that. This has been discussed over the past couple of years numerous times as to who owns the keys to all of these virtual assets, the databases, everything. And Jose has assured us that this is in the hands of the attorney, and that should Lauren or Grand Manners or everyone go away, Crow is not going to lose ownership and the ability to access all that data. I sure would hope that Lauren will come back to us and reconfirm that that is indeed the case, that should anybody disappear, that those assets are not lost, that we have to start doing hardware resets of routers and things like that, that all of that is in the hands of the town attorney.
Yeah, the board approved that last year, and Jose and I both handed that off to Tom Slayton.
Okay, so we're all good. No, nothing to worry about.
Any further comments? I made a new policy for myself to wait at least 5 seconds after I ask that question. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Thank you all for your time. Lauren, thanks for your help. And like we all offered, if there's anything we can give you advice on, I'd be happy to do it. So just please let me know. Thank you.
Anything, Lauren. Don't think it's below. I can just hop on my Nev and shoot over, and Tom hop on his bike and shoot over, and we can help. All right. Thanks, everyone.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
Have a great
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.